Right now, while you are reading this, your silence is telling God something. Not your prayers, your silence. The things you have stopped bringing to Him. The conversations you have been avoiding with Him. The gratitude you have not expressed. The doubts you have been carrying without saying a word about them. The sin you have been keeping quiet about. The worship that used to be consistent and has gone still. Every one of these silences is communicating something to God, as clearly as if you had spoken it out loud. Most believers think about what they say to God. Almost nobody thinks about what their silence says. You prepare your words for prayer. You choose what you bring and how you frame it. But you do not think about what the gaps between the prayers are communicating, what the closed Bible is saying, what the weeks of distance are telling the God who is always near. And today we are going to walk through 7 things your silence is telling God right now. Because once you understand what your silence means, you may never be the same kind of silent again. The first thing your silence is telling God is that you believe you can handle it alone. Isaiah 30 verse 15 records one of the most tender offers God ever made to His people. In quietness and trust is your strength. But the verse does not end there. It continues, but you would not. God offered them rest and quietness. He offered them the strength that comes from sitting still before Him instead of running their own solutions. And they chose the horses. They ran toward Egypt, toward human alliance, toward the frantic management of their own crisis, rather than sitting quietly before the God who had already promised to fight for them. And when you stop bringing something to God, when the thing you have been praying about disappears from your prayers, not because it is resolved, but because you have quietly decided to manage it yourself, your silence is saying the same thing. You are choosing the horses. You are telling God with the absence of your words that this particular problem belongs to you now, and you will sort it out without involving Him. And God, who has already offered to fight for you, hears that silence as clearly as Israel's fleeing feet. The second thing your silence is telling God is that you plan to keep the sin you have not confessed. David knew this better than almost anyone. Psalm 32 verses 3 and 4 describe what his silence about sin cost him. When I kept silent, he said, my bones wasted away through my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy on me. My strength was sapped as in the heat of summer. He was not describing the consequence of committing sin. He was describing the consequence of keeping silent about it afterward. The silence between sin and confession is not neutral. It is a posture. It says this is mine and I am keeping it. It says I am not ready to release this yet. And that posture has a cost, a physical, emotional, and spiritual cost that David described in the most visceral terms. The moment he broke the silence. Verse 5, I acknowledge my sin to you and did not cover up my iniquity. I said I will confess my transgressions to the Lord. And you forgave the guilt of my sin. The silence was the weight. The confession was the release. If you are carrying something right now that you have not brought to God in confession, your silence about it is not protecting you. It is costing you in ways you may have attributed to everything except the thing you have been keeping quiet. The third thing your silence is telling God is that unforgiveness matters more to you than the relationship you have with Him. Jesus made this connection in Matthew 5 verses 23 and 24 in a way that should stop every believer cold. He said, if you are offering your gift at the altar and remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar. First go and be reconciled to your brother. Then come and offer your gift. He placed reconciliation above worship. He made the connection between the silence you maintain towards someone you need to forgive and the quality of your connection with God unmistakably clear. The silence you are keeping toward the person who hurt you, the months or years of no conversation, no acknowledgement, no release of the debt, is being heard in every prayer you pray while maintaining it. You are praying with your lips while your silence towards someone else is saying something different. And God, who sees both, reads both. The fourth thing your silence is telling God is that you treat His provision as expected rather than received as a gift. In Luke 17, Jesus healed 10 lepers, all 10, completely, instantly. And 9 of them walked away in their healing without a word of gratitude. 1 returned and threw himself at Jesus' feet thanking Him. And Jesus asked, were not all 10 cleansed? Where are the other 9? He named the silence of the 9 specifically. He noticed it. He asked about it by name. The 9 were not ungrateful in a dramatic sense. They were not dismissive or contemptuous. They were simply people who moved on to the next thing without stopping to acknowledge what had just happened to them. And their silence was noticed in heaven as specifically as the one man's gratitude was celebrated there. Every time you receive something from God, the answered prayer, the provision that arrived, the protection you only recognized in hindsight, and you move on without stopping to bring him explicit gratitude, your silence is saying his provision is the baseline, not the gift. And he hears that silence just as clearly as he heard the silence of the 9 who did not return. The 5th thing your silence is telling God is that other voices have become more important to you than his. Jeremiah 29 verse 13 says, "You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart." The promise is real, but the inverse is also true. When you stop seeking, when the days stretch into a week without opening the Bible, when the prayer time disappears and is replaced by other things, when you fill every quiet moment with a screen or a sound rather than with the stillness where God speaks, your silence and seeking tells God something about the ordering of your attention. Not as a condemnation, as a diagnosis. What you pursue with your time and your attention reveals what you actually trust to give you what you need. And when the seeking goes quiet, when the hunger for God's voice is replaced by the consumption of every other voice available to you, that silence is a signal about where you are, about what has shifted, about what you have been using to fill the space that used to hold something different. The 6th thing your silence is telling God is that you do not trust him with your honesty. This one is perhaps the most important and the least addressed in most faith conversations. Psalm 22 begins with the words that Jesus himself cried from the cross. My God, why have you forsaken me?" David did not silence his doubt. He did not clean it up before bringing it to God. He did not wait until he had enough faith to pray properly. He brought the raw, unfiltered, desperate question directly to the one he was questioning. The Psalms are full of this kind of communication: grief, anger, confusion, disappointment, the direct accusation that God has been absent, the honest statement that it does not seem like he is listening. And God did not reject David for any of it. He preserved every word. He put it in Scripture. When you silence your doubts, when you perform confidence in prayer that you do not actually feel, when you keep your questions about God to yourself because you do not think he can handle them, you are not protecting your faith. You are protecting a version of yourself that you think God needs to see. He already sees the doubt. The silence about it does not make it disappear. It just means you are doubting alone instead of bringing the doubt into the relationship where it could actually be addressed. The 7th thing your silence is telling God is that your love for him has conditions. Psalm 34 verse 1 says, "I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise will always be on my lips." Always. Not when the prayer is answered. Not when the season is comfortable. Not when the evidence supports confidence. Always. And the silence that falls over a believer's worship life when circumstances get hard is one of the clearest signals in a spiritual relationship. It is not always a conscious withdrawal. Sometimes it happens gradually. The worship songs that were once daily become occasional. The gratitude that was once spontaneous becomes something you think about offering and then do not. The declarations of faith that used to be natural go quiet because you are not sure you believe them right now. And God hears that silence, not with condemnation, but with knowledge. He knows what the silence is made of. He knows whether your praise has conditions. He knows whether your love for him is based on what he does for you or on who he is. And the silence that settles over the worship life of a believer in a difficult season answers that question more honestly than most people would ever answer it in words. So here is what all 7 of these silences have in common. None of them feel like communication. They all feel like the absence of communication. That is what makes them so easy to miss, and so significant to God, who hears absence as clearly as he hears sound. The silence of avoidance, and the silence of concealment, and the silence of ingratitude, and the silence of stopped seeking, and the silence of withheld honesty, and the silence of conditional worship. All of it is heard. All of it means something. All of it is a conversation you are having with God, without realizing you are the one who started it. But here is the mercy in this. The same God who hears your difficult silence is the one who has been waiting for you to break it. Not to perform better silence, not to manufacture the right words, just to come with whatever is true right now, however unpolished, however honest, however incomplete, and to say it out loud to the one who already knows it anyway. Write in the comments, Lord, I bring you everything I have been carrying in silence.